Lycha isn't your typical DPS. This guy's blade is so sharp that it has actually divided the community. I'm Shrike, subscribe for more gacha content, let's dive in. And he's not the type of character that you can just button mash and hope you win. He is a high risk, high reward unit, like Danjin in Wuthering Waves or Blade in Honkai Star Rail. He drains his own health in order to deal more damage, and the more health he has to drain, the more damage he deals. This hints at the direction you might want to go building him. And if we just quickly look at his talent 1, you'll see that he also deals extra thunder damage based on his max HP. So for these reasons, you'll want to include HP in his build. There's also another talent, as well as a potential, that give him extra crit damage. So leaning heavily into crit rate is a good idea. I suggest health as a first priority, attack next, then thunder damage, crit rate, or pierce depending on whichever one you want. In a perfect world, I would put all of them on him, but we might have to just pick and choose. There are those that say leaning into HP is a scam and that it provides less value than simply using more attack in place of it, for instance. It's a bit too early to really tell, so at the moment I consider both builds viable. As for what marks to use, the game recommends Nourishing Wings as his 10-piece, but the community is kind of in a small war about it. Many swear by the double tower build using Locked Flood Dragon and Solar Corona, but others say that the uptime is too short to get any real value from those. In a similar vein, they disagree about the 5 pieces as well. Lot of contention with this character. Many swear by Tiger's Might and Dragon's Essence, increasing the damage dealt by his attacks that count as enhanced and charged respectively, while others don't think that those damage types comprise enough of his kit to make it worthwhile to use. In my opinion, the most efficient build for him is Nourishing Wings as his 10-piece, as it gives the most consistent buff. And then Dragon Essence, since the finale of all his attacks during his rage count as charged damage, which is considerably more than the attacks which count as enhanced. And then actually Shining Star to increase the rate at which he gains his ultimate, which will be very important and possibly life-saving. I'll explain that in a bit. Shining Star has a strange shape though, and some may not know how to fit it into the grid. Here's an example of how to do that. I don't know if it's the only way or the best way, but it's the way I'm doing it. So to summarize, the 10-piece Nourishing Wings with Shining Star and Dragon Essence, focusing on HP, attack, crit rate, thunder damage, or pierce. Now let's move on to his skill kit. His basic attack is to be avoided at all costs. Okay, it's not that bad, but it isn't one of his primary skills, and it doesn't grant him much battle will, which is the lifeblood of his kit. And so it's essentially just a less effective version of his skill 2. And speaking of skills, skill 1 will send him dashing forward to attack an enemy. Some things will happen with butterflies and shadows, but nothing you need to interact with or control. All that will happen on its own, so don't worry about it. Just don't be surprised if you see butterflies flying around or if you see a Lycha shadow. It's supposed to happen. A very small part of his kit is enhanced damage. One reason that the mark that buffs enhanced damage is not ideal for him. His skill 2 is actually what you'll be using most of the time, and it's what will trigger his Berserk mode, which I'll explain in a minute. This is the skill that will drain his health, but he can't kill himself with it. It stops hurting him when his health is less than half. This one gains him 30 battle will per use. So what that is the meter that, once it fills up, sends him into his rage. Think of it as a rage meter. Skill 2 can fill his rage meter up very quickly. Now let's explain the core of his kit, his passive. When his battle will reaches 100, when the rage meter fills, if you use his skill 2, it will send him into his Berserk mode. He'll be glowing red, moving very fast, and hitting very hard. You'll also not be able to control him for the duration. He'll just auto-target enemies and cycle through different Berserk attacks, all of which end with a big strike that counts as charged damage. Now this is only the last hit of the skills during his Berserk state, so if you want to use the mark that increases charged attacks, keep that in mind. Those will be the skills that the mark will buff. While he's in his Berserk mode, he'll keep going until he's used up his battle will, and then he'll be stunned for a few seconds. His ultimate basically serves the purpose of healing him and dealing a bunch of damage. So without a healer, you're really going to want to hold on to that ultimate until just the right moment, since it'll be your only way to recover his health. So to summarize, skill 2 gives him lots of battle will, then send him into a rage where he'll go crazy on the enemy seemingly on his own and then be stunned. The fun thing is that if you have your combo or your ultimate ready, you can interrupt his stun by pushing him into one of those. Or you can just swap him out while he recovers. I typically use this as an opportunity to bring out my supports and recast their buffs and debuffs. Moving on to his skill priority. Leveling up the passive will basically increase all the damage that he'll do while he's in his rage mode. So that's a good one to focus on first. Then his skill 2, you'll be using that a lot. Plus it's kind of necessary to activate his rage mode, so it may as well be leveled. Then his ultimate, then the rest can be leveled after that. Now let's go over his combat rotations. First of all, you won't want to start with Licha on the battlefield. Best to begin the battle with your support. In my case it's Atsi to get those buffs and debuffs right away. Then swap to Licha. And I alluded to this before, but what you'll want to be doing is essentially spamming skill 2 until he goes into rage mode, and then spam his basic attack, because although you can't control him during his rage, if you happen to hit the basic attack button at certain points during the rage, he'll teleport behind the enemy and do another attack. So if you don't feel like looking closely for the telltale butterflies, just spam it. That's what I do. And again, when he leaves his rage mode, he'll be stunned, which can be very dangerous, especially since he'll likely be low on health. So if you have your ultimate ready or your combo, use them at this point to shake him out of it. And if you don't, just swap to another character. So to summarize, there's actually a lot of nuance to his kit if you feel like diving deep, but the simplest way to pilot him is just to spam skill 2, enter rage, spam basic attack, then when the rage ends, address that stun using the method of your choice. Finally, let's talk about some teams to maximize Licha's potential. A very powerful one is to pair him with Atsi, since she can reduce the enemy's thunder resistance. Euro is an option too, but in my opinion Atsi is more catered to Licha specifically. And then he needs a healer to keep him alive. And you can use Logos or even Asti if you don't have a Logos, or if your Logos is already spoken for on another team. Some people advise pairing him with Hefe, and while she is a good character, I really think Hefe is better paired with Florence. But if your Hefe is unspoken for, sure, you can give her a try. But that's it for Licha. I think we basically covered everything. And with that being said, I'm gonna fly. See you in the next one. Bye.